completely life-changing, honestly. When I first got the call, I was like super daunted because of the sheer size and the enormity of Star Trek.
The romance between Spock and Nurse Christine Chapel in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds has been stirring up some mixed reactions among fans. Some love seeing Spock in a softer light, while others think it's a strange turn for his character. And with this, let us show you why we think this controversial Star Trek: Strange New Worlds romance actually makes perfect sense. The complicated love triangle between Spock, Christine Chapel, and his Vulcan fiancée, T'Pring, has definitely raised some eyebrows. But what many fans may not realize is that this romance isn't just a new plotline invented for the show. In fact, Spock and Chapel have been linked since Star Trek, the original series, in the 1960s. Yes, that's right, their romance has been part of Star Trek canon for over 5 decades. While Strange New Worlds adds some fresh layers to their relationship, the foundation was laid way back in TOS. For those wondering why this romance makes sense, it's because it has deep roots in the original Star Trek timeline. Let's dive into why this seemingly controversial love story is not only canon, but actually makes perfect sense for both characters. Spock and Chapel's history in the original series. The romantic tension between Nurse Christine Chapel and Spock has been brewing since the earliest days of Star Trek. Back in the 1960s, Chapel, played by Mayol Barrett Roddenberry, had clear feelings for Spock, Leonard Nimoy, although Spock, being the logical Vulcan that he is, never fully reciprocated. He didn't outright reject her either. In episodes like The Naked Time, we see Chapel openly express her feelings for Spock, even preparing traditional Vulcan meals like plomeek soup to comfort him during his time of need. Spock didn't exactly respond with a grand gesture of affection, but the fact that he called her Christine showed that he recognized her feelings. In the episode The Naked Time, Chapel was coerced into confessing her love for Spock due to a virus that unleashed everyone's deepest emotions. Though Spock did not return her affections in the conventional sense, there was a tenderness in how he addressed her, making the moment even more powerful for fans who saw a glimmer of emotional depth from the usually reserved Vulcan. Fast forward to Strange New Worlds, and the romantic tension is revisited, this time with more focus on Spock's emotional development. While it might feel out of place for fans who know Spock as a character ruled by logic, Strange New Worlds offers a younger, less emotionally guarded version of Spock. And that's exactly where the romance with Chapel fits in. Why Strange New Worlds romance works within canon. Some fans have been vocal about their doubts, questioning whether this portrayal of Spock and Chapel's relationship aligns with the logic-driven, emotionally distant Spock we see later in TOS. But Strange New Worlds takes place during Spock's formative years, before he fully embraced his Vulcan side and learned to suppress his emotions. This younger Spock is still navigating the tension between his human and Vulcan identities, and his relationship with Chapel showcases that inner conflict. Chapel, portrayed by Jess Bush in Strange New Worlds, represents a more carefree and emotionally open counterpart to Spock. She provides the kind of human connection that Spock secretly craves but is often unable to pursue because of his Vulcan heritage. It's this contrast that makes their dynamic interesting. Chapel pushes Spock to acknowledge and embrace his human side, which in many ways is essential to his character development. In TOS, Spock is emotionally shut down, but in Strange New Worlds, he's still figuring out how to balance his logical Vulcan nature with his human emotional responses. His relationship with Chapel is a part of that growth, showing that even Spock isn't immune to human feelings. It's also worth noting that Strange New Worlds isn't rewriting canon as much as it's filling in the gaps. The romance between Spock and Chapel helps explain their complicated relationship later in the timeline, setting the stage for the Chapel-Corby-Spock love triangle. The arrival of Dr. Roger Corby in Strange New Worlds Season 3 is another critical piece of the puzzle. Corby, who will be played by Cillian O'Sullivan, is not just any character. He's Christine, Chapel's future fiancée. Their engagement is already part of established Star Trek canon, so Corby's introduction is a key step toward aligning Strange New Worlds with the events of Teos. In Teos, Dr. Corby disappears under mysterious circumstances, which eventually leads to Chapel's continuing affection for Spock. The setup in Strange New Worlds helps explain why Chapel's feelings for Spock remain unresolved in Teos, even after she is engaged to Corby. The introduction of Corby creates a love triangle that adds complexity to Chapel's relationship with Spock, making the romance in Strange New Worlds even more meaningful. This also means that Chapel and Spock's relationship in Strange New Worlds is not meant to be a long-term love story. It's a fleeting moment in Spock's early life, a stepping stone toward his future emotional suppression and eventual rejection of romantic entanglements in TOS. The series is carefully laying the groundwork for the emotional distance we see in Spock later on, and Chapel's romance with him plays a significant role in that journey. Christine Chapel's unrequited love and Spock's development. One of the reasons why Spock and Chapel's romance in Strange New Worlds works so well is because it's ultimately doomed. Chapel's feelings for Spock, while sincere, have always been unrequited, and that theme continues into TOS. By exploring their relationship in Strange New Worlds, the writers are giving fans a deeper understanding of why Chapel's feelings for Spock persist, even after she becomes engaged to Corby. Spock, on the other hand, continues to struggle with his own emotions. His relationship with Chapel represents a rare moment where he allows himself to be vulnerable, but it's a moment that can't last. As Spock matures, he begins to suppress these emotions more effectively, eventually becoming the stoic Vulcan we know from TOS. Chapel's unrequited love plays a crucial part in that transformation. It shows Spock that emotional entanglements, especially with humans, are complicated and ultimately incompatible with his Vulcan nature. Their relationship in Strange New Worlds adds a layer of tragedy to Spock's character. By the time we see him in TOS, he has learned to keep his emotions under tight control, and Chapel's continued affection for him only serves as a reminder of a time when he allowed himself to feel, even if only briefly. Strange New Worlds and its mastery of balancing canon. Despite some fans' discomfort with the Spock-Chapel romance, it's important to recognize that Strange New Worlds isn't straying from canon, it's expanding on it. By giving Spock and Chapel a more detailed backstory, the series is making sense of the awkward, sometimes confusing romantic tension we see in TOS. The addition of Dr. Corby further reinforces that the writers are carefully aligning the prequel series with established Star Trek lore, while still allowing room for creative storytelling. The relationship between Spock and Chapel might be controversial, but it's rooted in canon, and it serves a critical purpose in Spock's overall character arc. The love triangle that's being set up with the introduction of Corby is a key component in Chapel's journey as well, showing how her feelings for Spock evolved over time, and why she eventually becomes entangled with Corby. At its core, Strange New Worlds is about exploring these formative moments in the lives of characters we've known for decades. The Spock-Chapel romance might feel jarring at first, but when viewed through the lens of Star Trek history, it makes perfect sense. It's a reflection of both Spock's internal struggle and Chapel's unrequited love, and it adds a rich, emotional layer to their dynamic that will eventually come full circle in TOS. The bigger picture: why Spock and Chapel's romance matters. The romance between Spock and Chapel in Strange New Worlds isn't just a plot device. It's a meaningful exploration of both characters' emotional growth. For Spock, it's a rare chance to engage with his human side before fully committing to his Vulcan nature. For Chapel, it's a journey through unrequited love, something that defines her relationship with Spock, even as she moves on with her life. By embracing this romance, Strange New Worlds is deepening the Star Trek universe in a way that honors the original canon, while also giving fans a fresh perspective on these beloved characters. It's a romance that may not have been widely loved, but it's one that fits perfectly into the larger Star Trek story.